Hi, yes, I'm Sarah. I'm indeed a Scala developer at ITV. So we're going to talk a little bit about learning Scala at ITV, kind of more specifically how I learned Scala at ITV, but a little bit about why we're a good place to learn in general. So, hope I've got the right button. Haven't got the right button. Yep, there we go, cool. So this is me, with my two best friends, on deck. This is about circa 2018. Just got myself a shiny maths degree. But honestly, I don't really know what to do with it. I'm a very far cry from a software developer right now, and apart from some dodgy kind of self-taught CSS and HTML, I've got no real experience, vague awareness that Java is a thing. Definitely never heard of Scala. Definitely pronounced it wrong the first few times. So I don't know a lot, but what I do know is I want a job in tech, and I need a job where I can learn. So got myself a spot on the ITV Technology Graduate Scheme, so the same scheme that James was on. So a little bit about it, it's a 2-year scheme, goes across kind of all tech teams at ITV, it's not just for churning out software developers. But every grad does spend some time, extended time, in a software team, kind of either as a developer or as a product manager or a delivery manager, just to get a better feel of how we do software. So I chose the software developer path. So what does that look like? Well, started with a very intense 3-day course, intro to Scala course with the wonderful people at Underscore, which absolutely melted my brain, not going to lie. There were definitely some light bulb moments, kind of getting to grips with, pattern matching, using recursion without for loops or variables, like what? But it's a really great course, and it packs a lot into a very short period of time. So I'm taking my newfound Scala knowledge and I'm heading into the streaming team for about 4 months. Heavily depending on the lovely Scala developers there to give me all of their tasty Scala knowledge. And generally working on some kind of side projects, katas, exercises, so I can kind of apply all these new things I'm learning, because obviously Scala in business, very different to Scala in textbooks. After about 4 months, I'm like, yep, this is a bit of me, so I request another Scala placement, this time in the wonderful land of content supply and distribution. This time it's a little bit longer, it's for about 6 months, but after a few months there, I was offered a placement and then just never really left. It's a very similar path to what a lot of the grads do that then go on to become software developers, so it kind of goes to show that if you're kind of short on Scala developers, then make your own ones. It's a little bit of a time investment at the beginning, but then at the end you've got a junior who's pretty competent and they've got a great deal of domain knowledge as well, which is always a good thing. So, where are we now? I'm in the content delivery team, represent. This is us. We are a crack team of space explorers. We also do a little bit of Scala on the side. We're mainly managing a range of microservices, generally deployed on Kubernetes and some AWS lambdas. I think last I checked, we've got about 37, so quite a lot of us between the few of us. Generally, our team work to source, process, and deliver content, so video, subtitles, audio description, all that lovely stuff, all the way across ITV into streaming, various other partners. And we're using functional programming. So why are we using functional programming? It's quite a high learning curve, in my opinion. But once you kind of get over that learning curve, it's a really good fit for modeling our domain. It's easier to read and reason about because it feels like maths. And as a maths graduate, I love that. You're just composing algebraic functions, you're passing them around, it's all good stuff. So a couple of libraries we're touching on, you can probably recognize a few of them there. Very heavily on the kind of type level projects, we've got some cats and cats effects. FS2 streaming is always pretty good for, video files. DB for Postgres, HTTP4S for HTTP. I think that is Cersei for JSON over there, and also a little bit of tooling with Scala Steward, which is how we kind of manage library upgrades. A lot of these kind of libraries, they're quite high entry. They can be pretty tricky to get to grips with, especially if you're just learning for the first time, with cats, maps, flat maps, cats effect, what even is an IO, who knows. A lot of juniors can find the type level docs quite intimidating, quite hard to then apply this to their own work. And it's not just juniors, even if you've kind of worked with Spark before, I think some of these concepts can be quite tricky in these libraries. Oh God, that's not very good contrast, but anyway. What makes us a good place to learn? Because it's not just the graduates that come through. We've had, Java developers that do Scala. We've even had people with front-end backgrounds. So a big thing is the community at ITV. I'm sure you're probably well aware, but we've got an absolute wealth of experience here in terms of our developers. Even some kind of open source contributors, which is always good. And what's great about that is different people explain things in different ways. So every time you hear it from a slightly different perspective, it's like building up that kind of mental puzzle. And sometimes you just need that last person to explain it in their particular way to kind of really make you understand what's going on. And the best part is they're not only smart, they're very keen to share. Everyone's got at least one book they recommend to you, which is always great. If you've got any problems, you best believe that if you post that on our Scala Slack channel, you'll have some absolute titans ready to give you some solutions. So it's really nice to see that everyone is generally keen to share. And then thirdly, we like to make our code accessible. Like, code's no good to anyone if everyone can't read it, really. We'll kind of, we'd rather have, you know, better readability and sacrifice kind of fancy syntax. You know, maybe that symbol replaces that whole if-else block, but does it actually make it better to read? Maybe not. Let's keep it nice and accessible for all levels. Pairing, I'm a big, very keen on pairing. I've done a talk about this before, and I could probably talk your ear off about pairing, but it's an essential part of learning, really. Like, it gives you that confidence to code, and different pairings, there's different ways of pairing which benefit different people. And yeah, if you've got somebody more experienced helping you steer the way, you're going to learn a lot quicker. It's just as simple as that. You get the opportunity to learn more because you get this kind of instant feedback, you know, oh, why are we doing it like that? What does that do? You get that immediately rather than in a PR or a code review. And there's also those little niggles as well, the amount of compiler errors that end up being red herrings that, you know, really frustrating, take a long time to solve, but if you've got somebody experienced there, they've probably been through it already, they know exactly what the deal is, they can fix it ASAP. And then finally, how to Scala in a business. I said before, Scala and textbooks can be very different to Scala in businesses. And when you get that pairing, you don't only get the how, but also the why, you know. Why are we passing this function around in this case class? Oh, well, so we can mock it out and test later. Like, why isn't this code running? Are you not flat mapping over that effect? Or, oh, why are we using this trait to model file types? Well, we can pattern match on it later. You get all of these good explanations there and then. So pairing kind of teaches you more about how to generally architect and compose a Scala function. And then finally, James touched on this earlier, but we do get some great learning opportunities. Lots of internal talks, finding talks, engineering talks, tech forums, you name it, we got it. We get hack days and personal development days, and that's kind of paired with an O'Reilly subscription as well, which lots of really great resources on that. We've got some wonderful engineering managers who kind of help facilitate training, courses, conferences, the whole shebang. So yeah, that is all from me. I'm just going to steal Philip's slide a little bit.